These fighters belong to Hezbollah, the most powerful paramilitary group in the Middle East. Propaganda is vital for the Islamic State terrorist group. The Islamic State of Khorasan, an Islamic State terrorist group, operates in Afghanistan. No, I don't want to speak ill of any religion in this video. Rather, I want to conduct an analysis that leads us to understand why Western countries, whose values and essence find their origin in Christianity, tend to be more developed in economic, political, and social aspects compared to countries in the Middle East, Africa, and part of Southeast Asia, whose idiosyncrasy is centered on Islam and which are part of the large community known as the Union of the Maghreb Arabs. Would you like to join me in this analysis? All right, then stay until the end of the video. To start, it's important to clarify why we are making this comparison. As mentioned in this video, both Christianity and Islam are Abrahamic religions. That is, both are monotheistic faiths, which find their origin in Abraham as the first prophet, which also closely links them with Judaism. Their scriptures share similarities, so the values they promote should, in theory, be quite similar. However, we observe that today, Christianity and the Union of the Maghreb Arabs have followed quite different paths, leading many to think that integration between both worlds is incompatible. At first glance, the difference in development between Christian and Muslim countries is abysmal. Although some Muslim countries have achieved optimal economic development in social terms, these are usually governed by authoritarian regimes with little respect for human rights and civil liberties. Likewise, although there are Christian religious fanatics, it is evident that in Islam, this trend is significantly higher. After making more than 1,100 videos, I only know of one Christian fundamentalist group as bloodthirsty as the vast number of jihadist groups. In addition, the large companies and innovations of the Western world surpass those of the countries associated with Islam, even in times of crisis. Honestly, it wasn't always this way. During the Middle Ages, at the same time that the Muslim faith emerged, the Golden Age of Islam was lived, also known as the Islamic Renaissance, which spanned from the 8th to the 13th centuries AD. During this period, numerous Muslim scholars made significant contributions in various fields such as the arts, economy, literature, philosophy, sciences, technology, and navigation. These contributions created a unique culture that influenced societies on all continents. Some of these illustrious scholars were the philosopher Al-Farabi, known as the second master after Aristotle for his philosophical contributions, Al-Mutanabi, whose poetry is still admired by all, Al-Khwarizmi, considered the father of modern algebra, Ibn al-Haytham, one of the pioneers of modern optics, and Ibn Khaldun, who introduced fundamental concepts in political economy. Many historians believe that the end of the Islamic Renaissance occurred with the Mongol invasions that caused significant devastation of the Arab world. The specific turning point was the siege of Baghdad in 1258, the capital of the then Abbasid Caliphate, which until that point was considered the epicenter of the Golden Age. During this looting, the Great Library of Baghdad, known as the House of Wisdom, was completely destroyed by the invaders. In this library, important translations and studies were carried out in various areas of knowledge. As a result, a large amount of knowledge was lost that could have served as a basis for other great contributions to humanity. After the fall of Baghdad, the Muslim world experienced a significant political fragmentation. The caliphates and sultanates were divided into numerous smaller states that competed for the scarce power. This fragmentation prevented the consolidation of resources and institutional support, necessary for the continuation of scientific and cultural progress. 2 centuries later, the opposite occurred. Nearly the entire Muslim world was under the sovereignty of a single state, the Ottoman Empire. This discouraged competition among Muslim peoples. Instead, in the Christian world centered in Europe, the idea of the nation-state was consolidated, with countries that competed not only for territories, but also in terms of scientific advancement and exploration. Ironically, the closure of the Silk Road by the Ottomans motivated Europeans to seek new trade routes, which led to transatlantic exploration and the conquest of new lands in America and Asia. The wealth obtained from the colonies allowed Europeans to finance scientific and technological projects. Likewise, contact with other cultures introduced new knowledge and technologies. Another important point is the religious conservatism adopted in the Muslim world that often included opposition to certain types of scientific and philosophical research seen as contrary to the orthodox interpretations of Islam. While this also occurred in the Christian world, a turning point occurred in the 18th century with the Enlightenment. This was a cultural movement started in France, England, and the German states that inspired profound cultural and social changes. Great thinkers like Voltaire and Diderot argued that human knowledge could combat ignorance, superstition, and tyranny in order to build a better world. In this way, the separation of church and state was encouraged, and the focus on the scientific method, which marked the beginning of countless unprecedented advances in human knowledge. Lastly, we can also consider Gutenberg's invention of the printing press around 1450. This invention, which was adopted in the Muslim world much later, and with more restrictions, allowed for the mass dissemination of knowledge. At this point, it would be good for us to analyze the current political dictionary, as this topic is directly related to fragmentation, ideological that is experienced today, especially in Europe. It's no secret that one of the topics under discussion is multiculturalism. This concept refers to the attempt to establish an ethnically mixed community in which multiple cultural traditions coexist. Multiculturalism has notably gained relevance since the decade of 2010, coinciding with the significant increase in immigration of refugees from the Middle East and Africa, many of them of Muslim faith, and facing significant challenges in their integration into the cultures of the host countries. News like these have become quite common and have been particularly exploited by political parties often labelled as far-right. Therefore, this could be closely related to the recent results of the 24 European parliamentary elections, where parties advocating for border closure have achieved a significant victory. This fact could indicate that the trend of European opinions remains contrary to multiculturalism due to the perception that the values of the Ummah, notably lagging behind those of Christianity, are not compatible. So, as you see, the decline in scientific and cultural contributions from the Muslim world compared to those of Christianity is a complex phenomenon that is influenced by historical, social factors, religious conservatism, political fragmentation, and the European Enlightenment movement. But now, tell me, what other factors do you think could have contributed to the lag in the Muslim world? Do you think multiculturalism between these two worlds is compatible? Don't forget to leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. Also, I leave in the description my social networks, and in case you want to see the new videos in preview and have a greater interaction with me, your donations on Patreon, unamanita.net, or channel members are welcome. And don't forget to join my heritage to discover your origins. Because if the history of countries is fun, your own history is even more so. See you next time.